Before you listen to this BBC podcast, I'd like to introduce myself. My name's Stevie Middleton and I'm a BBC Commissioner for a load of sport podcasts. I'm lucky to do that at the BBC because I get to work with leading journalists, experienced pundits and the biggest sports stars. Together we bring you untold stories and fascinating insights straight from the players' mouths. But the best thing about doing this at the BBC is our unique access to the sporting world. What that means is that we can bring you podcasts that create a real connection to dedicated sports fans across the UK. So if you like this podcast, head over to BBC Sounds where you'll find plenty more.
BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts.
Hello, I'm Jane Lewis and this is the Scottish Football Podcast. It's Friday the 17th of May and there's another busy weekend in store.
Sidibe's in there! Adama Sidibe rescues a point for St Johnstone, and how vital might that be come the end of the season?
Can St Johnstone climb out of the relegation playoff place on what promises to be a suspenseful Sunday? Also,
Cochrane's corner, flicked on, Shankland takes it! Oh, that is absolutely brilliant! And what a way to bring up 30 goals for the season.
What's next for 30-goal Lawrence Shankland as he faces a big decision this summer? And
I certainly wanted to be in control of the decision, Jane, and retire from football opposed to football retiring me.
As another club legend waves farewell, can Hibs stop Celtic claiming the SWPL title?
This is the Scottish Football Podcast from BBC Sports Scotland.
Delighted to say that legend is none other than Joelle Murray, who joins us, the Hibs captain, and Cammy Bell, former Kilmarnock, Rangers and Dundee United goalkeeper, is with us too. Hello to you both, Joelle. Emotional time ahead. How are we feeling?
Feeling okay at the moment, Jane. Thank you very much. There's been the tears, the emotions, and I'm sure that'll be no different at final whistle on Sunday.
And Cammy, you know how Joelle feels. Does it take you back to when you made your big decision to hang up the goalkeeping gloves?
Yeah, listen, it's always a tough time for professional players to hang up their boots. So I wish Joelle all the best on Sunday and hopefully she can enjoy the occasion as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said. Well, lots to get through with Joelle and Cammy. But first of all, let's very quickly run through the latest Scottish football news. Well, Raith Rovers go into tonight's Premiership playoff semi-final second leg with Partick Thistle at Starks Park, with Keith Watson as their only injured out. The Jags are at full strength as they look to overturn the Kirkcaldy side's 2-1 lead from the first leg. For a more in-depth preview of that game and Inverness Cally Thistle against Hamilton, check out yesterday's Scottish Football Podcast. Well, it's bad news for Chris Doolan's side, however, after Wrexham co-owner Ryan Reynolds admits to showbiz reporter Ross King that he's never heard of Partick Thistle. The Hollywood film star says he does know Dundee United, though. That's good news for them. Dumbarton manager Stevie Farrell insists there's more work to do after they go into the League One playoff semi-final second leg away at Spartans with a 2-1 lead. And Manuel Neuer and Toni Kroos have been named in Germany's provisional Euro 2024 squad. The host nation take on Scotland in the opening game. And Nick Montgomery has been linked with a quick-fire return to Australian football after being sacked as Hibs manager on Tuesday. Right, let's begin at the end, so to speak. Sunday will see the final games of the Premiership season, and it's all to play for with St Johnstone currently in the relegation playoff spot, just 2 points behind Ross County in 10th. St Johnstone are away to Motherwell with Ross County hosting Aberdeen. Cammy, can you see St Johnstone pulling off the great escape?
Jane, I don't think they will. I think Ross County will get a job done on Sunday. They're at home, Aberdeen. They know what's at stake. They've got guys for me at the top end of the pitch: Simon Murray, Eamon Brophy, Jordan White, who can score goals. Whereas I look at St Johnstone, they've really struggled for goals this season, and they're away to a Motherwell side that, again, Stuart Kettlewell want them to finish with as many points as they can. And I just think it's a little bit too late for St Johnstone in this at this time to get out of this one, and it looks like they could be facing the playoffs.
Joelle, on paper it would seem that it is St Johnstone that's got the harder game of the two. They're away to Motherwell.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree with everything Cammy said there. I think playing away favours obviously Ross County, who are the home team against Aberdeen. However, Aberdeen certainly won't be a pushover for them. I think Pierre Leaving's got them playing very, very well. But again, it's all about controlling the controllables for Ross County.
Cammy, it's a strange one, isn't it? Because even if Ross County were to draw, for example, if St Johnstone do manage to get that win, it might not be enough. So how do they go about approaching this one? It's got to be win or bust, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has to be, Jane. Again, they'll go all guns blazing to get the win. But again, can you see them scoring 4 goals if Ross County were to draw? I can't see it. It's not happened all season. It's been a tough season at the top end of the pitch for St Johnstone. Don't score a lot. I just can't see it happening. I think they'll, in the back of their mind, they'll obviously have the game on Sunday going in to win it, but they'll also be thinking about the potential of the playoffs as well, how they navigate through that and try and stay in the top league. But yeah, it's a big game for them on Sunday. I think they will all go all guns blazing, but I just think Ross County will get the job done.
Yeah, Ross County maybe getting the job done, but of course they face an Aberdeen side who are in pretty decent form, don't they? And Joelle, we're talking to you about hanging up the boots. We'll be expecting, I guess, to see 16-year-old Fletcher Boyd feature again. He's making this senior football lark looking pretty easy, isn't he?
He certainly is. He obviously came on to make his debut at Easter Road, was on the pitch minutes and got his goal, and the Aberdeen fans certainly think and speak highly of that young man, and quite rightly so, because I think he has all the attributes to go very far in the game.
Also on Sunday, it's Livingston hosting Hibs. It's been quite a week at Easter Road. We'll get your thoughts on this, Joelle, because you're very close to this. But Cammy, let's come to you just first of all on the sacking of manager Nick Montgomery, and then the appointment of Malky Mackay as sporting director. A new manager will come in at some stage, I would imagine. What's been your take on it, Cammy?
Not surprised, Jane. I expected there to be a reaction from such a poor season. And again, Nick Montgomery had been at the club most of the season. I think it's been disappointing. I don't think they've got the best out of the team and the players they've got at their disposal. So I wasn't really too surprised. I think it's a good appointment bringing Malky Mackay, and I think it's somebody up the stairs and somebody who's going to be consistent at the club, and I think that's what they need. They need a sporting director there that's going to be consistent. I think that's what Malky Mackay will bring. He'll bring experience, a lot of contacts, and he knows what the Scottish game's all about as well. So I think it's a really good appointment. It'll be interesting to see who he sees figureheading up as head coach at Hibs.
Well, let's ask Joelle, who's got her ear to the ground with all things Hibs. Are you hearing anything, Joelle? What kind of manager do they need to bring in, given that they now have that support of Malky Mackay as a sporting director?
Yeah, I think obviously the sporting director role potentially then reduces the options, because there's managers out there who just want to manage. They don't want that kind of sporting director standing over them and above them, kind of dictating, so to speak. So I think for me, we need someone in place that's going to complement Malky. I think Malky's appointment's been a fantastic one. Worked very closely with him when he was with the SFA, and I was, of course, with the national team, and I can't speak highly enough of him. So I think the appointment in itself is a fantastic one for the club, and I think the next appointment needs to be the right one, because we've been a club with a lot of kind of turnover and transition, and it's not a good look for the club. And I think we ultimately want to get back to that consistency on the pitch as well as off the pitch.
A lot of change at Hibs. Well, let's just stay with you, because as well as you hanging up your boots, a couple of other legends from the men's game as well, from a Hibs point of view. Paul Hanlon and Lewis Stevenson played their final games at Easter Road on Wednesday night. That would have been an emotional one, wasn't it?
It was indeed, yeah. It was very emotional, but a very fitting send-off for both Paul and Lewis, and deservedly so, because two club legends. I know the word legend gets thrown about a bit, but certainly they are very fitting of that. And the fans turned up despite everything that's happening off the pitch, despite the poor performances this season. And as I say, they truly got the send-off that their kind of value and support and loyalty to the club deserved.
This is the Scottish Football Podcast.
Well, Well, let's turn our attention to Saturday now, Cammy. Of course, not much at stake on Saturdays during the football matches that we played tomorrow. But Celtic, of course, will be presented with the trophy when St Mirren come to visit Parkhead. How impressed have you been with Celtic in recent weeks that they've peaked at the right time, haven't they?
Yeah, they certainly have, Jane. They've been very impressive. Again, I was really impressed on Wednesday night with a 5-0 victory over Kilmarnock. A difficult place, Rugby Park. And listen, Derek McInnes's side was never going to lie down for them, but they just made the job so professional. They got the job done early with early goals to kill off any Kilmarnock momentum. And yeah, they've been superb since the split. They've navigated their way through difficult games. I think you look at the first one, the Dundee away win. It was always going to be a difficult one. And then obviously that Old Firm game was vital for them to get the 2-1 victory there. But yeah, listen, Brendan Rodgers has handled the pressure. He's handled a lot of question marks that have been put over him. So, yeah, they absolutely deserve to be champions.
Yeah, Brendan Rodgers actually quoted quite widespread today in the newspapers talking about the fact that he's silenced his critics, Joelle. He certainly has done that, hasn't he?
He has indeed, yeah, and it's frightening because a manager like Brendan Rodgers, the achievements that he's achieved throughout his career, and he's still getting questioned, and quite rightly so, coming out and making that statement because there was a bit of pressure from a lot of kind of areas within the game, but he's handled that fantastically, as has his players. And like Cammy said, they've certainly peaked at the right time and ultimately got the job done.
And in Saturday's other games, Dundee host Kilmarnock and Rangers travel to Hearts. And how important is it for Rangers to try and end the league season on a positive note, especially with that cup final in mind?
Absolutely, Jane. I think, again, it's another game they'll look at. It's not a must-win, but it's again, they'll be looking to build a good performance from and build confidence and momentum, because there's been a lot of negativity around the club in the last week. Obviously, the damaging Old Firm defeat and then a sticky display against Dundee. Yeah, so it's just been, I don't know, there's just been a lot of negativity. They need to brush that aside at the moment because they've got this huge cup final. They've got an opportunity to win 2 cups this season. So that's massive for Philippe Clement, and hopefully he can get his side ready for the cup final and give Celtic a really good challenge in that.
And the Hearts come into this game, Joelle, off the back of that 2-2 draw with St Mirren on Wednesday. That game saw Lawrence Shankland get his 30th goal of the season, and afterwards he said that he faces a big decision and conversations will be had about his future in the summer. What are you thinking? Are you thinking that he'll still be around in Scotland or at Hearts this summer?
I honestly don't know, Jane. I think his performances, his ruthlessness this season, his goal return, he could go anywhere on this form, and quite rightly so, because he's arguably in the form of his life. We're talking about peaking at the right time, peaking before the summer. It gives Steve Clarke a big decision there, but from a club perspective, he could absolutely go anywhere in this form.
Cammy, what about you? I mean, you can understand him maybe wanting to move on, challenge himself, but you know, if you're scoring that amount of goals at a specific club, you're obviously feeling quite comfortable and at home there. So do you really want to move on?
Yeah, it's a difficult one. It will be a difficult one for Lawrence. He's got a huge decision to make. Does he sign a new contract with Hearts, or does he take the opportunity to try and move on and go and try something new? And yeah, I totally agree that, listen, the goal return that he's brought to Hearts has been incredible. If Hearts manage to keep him, it's a huge signing for them, a massive signing. He is their captain, he's the leader. He leads by example on the pitch. But again, I think there'll be a lot of clubs sniffing around him, and it's an opportunity, the Euros as well, for Lawrence Shankland to put himself out there again and show the world what he can do. So yeah, I think there'll be big conversations. I think there'll be clubs probably tabling offers as well, but ultimately it's going to be Lawrence Shankland that makes that decision.
And Cammy, before all the weekend's action that we've just been speaking about, there is a big game in the playoff, another big game for Dumbarton against the Spartans. I know you're going to be at this one. What are you thinking? It's finally poised, isn't it?
Yeah, it's finally poised, Jane. It was very, very tight in the first leg. Dumbarton taking the 2-1 lead to Edinburgh tonight. So Listen, there was only 1 point in the league between the two sides in League Two this season, so it just shows you how tight it's going to be, and it's a massive game for both clubs. Again, Spartans trying to get back-to-back promotions, and Dumbarton trying to get back to that League One where they think they belong. So, it's going to be a great night of football, and hopefully we see one of them will progress, and it'll be a special night for them.
Well, finally, this Sunday also sees the conclusion of the SWPL season. Celtic and Rangers tied at the top on 79 points apiece. Celtic have a vastly superior goal difference, though. Celtic are at home to Joelle's Hibs, while Rangers host Partick Thistle. Well, Joelle, I think it's fair to say that Celtic are the favourites to end the day with their first ever SWPL title. But your Hibs could have a say in it. How are you feeling ahead of this one?
Yeah, as always, we're feeling positive. The last time we played Celtic, we certainly ran them close. We proved a competitive opposition for them, and I think they'll know that ahead of Sunday they won't have an easy game. But like you said, their form across the season, their consistency, they've got quality players all over the pitch. Amy Gallagher, especially, she's when at her creative best, she's absolutely unplayable. So you're right, they will be the favourites going into the game, but certainly on our day, if we turn up and be the Hibs that we know we can be, it certainly won't be easy for them.
And Cammy, Hibs are at home to Partick Thistle. If you were playing in that game, would you want to know what was happening at Celtic Park?
Yeah, listen, you probably would want to know what's happening. I'm sure it'll get filtered onto the pitch. It always does in these situations, from the coaching staff to the players. But yeah, I think you probably would like to know what's going on. Again, you can only control what you can control on the day. But yeah, what a finish to the season. It's an incredible finish to the season for the women's game. And it'll be all eyes on the games on Sunday.
Yeah, absolutely. And as big a day as potentially it could be for Celtic, Joelle, you're going to be making your 507th and final game of your career. We touched on it at the top, but just give us a bit more insight into how you're feeling about it. And Celtic Park, actually, a big arena. It's the perfect venue for a good sending off, isn't it?
It is, yes. Ideally, it would have been Easter Road, but certainly if there's a decent alternative, Parkhead is really up there. So yeah, I think for me it'll be something that really hits home after Sunday. I'm kind of fully focused on the task in hand at the moment, but it's a decision that was fully considered. I've always maintained that I would let my kind of body tell me when, my mind tell me when. And I certainly wanted to be in control of the decision, Jane, and retire from football opposed to football retiring me.
I don't think we've seen the last of you, though. What are your plans after Sunday?
Yeah.
Apart from a long hot bath?
Yeah, getting the feet up for a bit, to be honest, over the summer, and then I'll just get stuck right back in, but in a different role. So in a coaching capacity, I'll join the backroom staff at the club, and then hopefully, in terms of any media opportunities, I'm certainly keen to kind of throw myself into that more, because when I'm, well, at the moment, football is my priority, and I've always maintained that when there was any other opportunities, but or conflicts, that would be my main choice. But certainly after the summer, that will be different. So a coaching role primarily, but hopefully getting more of these opportunities.
And just a final one before we let you go, just in terms of how much that the women's game has grown and developed in this country, even as recently maybe as 2 or 3 years ago. What are your thoughts on that?
It's been unbelievable. To Fiona McIntyre, the director of the SWPL, and we were talking about how the game's evolved from when I first started to now, but like you said, even over the last few years, it's fantastic, and it's great to see that you've got your clubs, your Rangers, Celtic, Hearts really buying into their women now, and it's not just a tick box to see that they truly value that entry of their club, and it's really nice to see.
Yeah, it certainly is. Indeed, that's all we've got time for today. Thank you very much for listening, and many thanks to Joelle and Cammy as well. Remember, Wraith Rovers against Partick Thistle in that massive playoff second leg is live on Sports Scene this evening, BBC Scotland from 7:30. Sports Sound will have all the action across the weekend, and Sports Scene will have all your highlights on Saturday, Sunday and Monday as well. That's it though from us. Enjoy your football wherever you are in what promises to be a brilliant weekend. Bye bye.
Just a quick reminder, the Behind the Goals podcast is available every Tuesday with me, Rachel Corsey, and me, Leanne Crichton. It's your one-stop shop for our take on everything that's happening in the world of football. Just head to BBC Sounds or wherever you get your podcasts and search for Behind the Goals.